Chapter 1890 Junjing Sect and Tong Organization. Zhang Yi already knew that King Arthur was a member of the Tong Organization. It's just that at this moment he deliberately mentioned this matter in front of Zhang Yi, so that Zhang Yi could vaguely guess the other party's purpose. Is this an attempt to lure him into the Hitomi organization? Zhang Yi showed a disapproving smile on his face. Why should he join the organization now? He himself is the leader of a powerful organization. At this moment, Tianhai City has the strength to challenge an upper-middle-class country. King Arthur continued, "Chaos, I would like to formally invite you to join the Hibiki organization and become a member of the most important Four Horsemen of the Dawn of the Hibiki organization." Zhang Yi smiled. "Join the Hibiki organization? Do you think I need it?" King Arthur nodded. "Of course it is necessary." Zhang Yi rubbed his nose, but his face was full of indifference. King Arthur took a deep breath. "Chaos, you don't understand how great the influence of the Tong organization is. This organization has members all over the world, and its membership standards are very high. Only those who have a certain status in society or have made outstanding achievements can join. Otherwise, why do you think I would join it?" Zhang Yi looked at him playfully. "I only know one thing now. That is, you have a very bad relationship with the Junjing Church in Europe." He stepped on the sea and walked forward carelessly. "A month ago, the cardinal of the Junjing Church came to me. He hoped that I could join the church, but I refused at that time." King Arthur followed Zhang Yi and said, "You made the right choice. The people in the church are all crazy." Zhang Yi looked at him jokingly. "Aren't you guys a bunch of lunatics?" "No," King Arthur said firmly. "The people of the Tong organization are all firm realists. We live in the present." Zhang Yi lowered his head and thought for a while, then asked lightly, "To be honest, until now, I don't know what kind of organization the Tong organization is. It seems very mysterious, and according to rumors in society, it is an evil organization, like a cult. So, come and explain it to me. What kind of organization is the Tong organization, and what is the purpose of your establishment?" "Of course," Zhang Yi raised a finger and said with a smile, "And what benefits will I get from joining you?" King Arthur spread his arms and smiled. "Of course, I will introduce it to you. I believe that after listening to my introduction, you will make the right choice." The story is a bit long, but fortunately the two have plenty of time. Two people were walking on the sea. The others watched from afar and did not come to disturb them. They all knew that the boss had something important to discuss. King Arthur recounted the history of the Tong organization and its relationship with the Junjing Church. It turns out that both the Tong organization and the Junjing Church originated from an extremely ancient sect, the Messianic sect. It is now impossible to verify when this sect was born. All we know is that it existed long before the birth of the Roman Catholic Church and has always been the mainstream religion in many countries in Western Europe. The Messianic sects first explained the relationship between the universe, gods, and humans in the form of myths in their doctrines. King Arthur told Zhang Yi about the Messianic doctrine and mythology. Although he only gave a brief explanation of the general idea, the more Zhang Yi listened, the more familiar he felt. This version has many similarities with the story he heard from Ling, but it is not exactly the same. But it also basically summarizes the story of the birth and existence of the world, the birth and destruction of human beings over and over again, and then the emergence of a new generation of human beings. Zhang Yi said, "I've heard stories about the origins of some European religions. Many monotheistic religions originated from what you called the Messianic sect. However, I have never heard that the Tong organization is also a sect." King Arthur sighed and said with emotion, "Does the inheritance of a sect have to have churches and monks in robes? That's just an appearance. The true inheritance of a sect is doctrine and belief. As long as they exist, the soul of the sect exists." He suddenly smiled. "It seems that I've said too much. Let me tell you why the Messianic sect later gave rise to the Junjing sect and the Tong organization. All this is related to the birth of a person." Zhang Yi vaguely guessed who that person was. "The person you are talking about, could it be?" King Arthur nodded. Yes, it is the Holy Son Messiah. Messiah means savior. According to the teachings of the Messianic sect, this world will be destroyed one day, which is called the Day of the Fall. At that time, the gates of hell will open, and the devil in hell will lead all the demons to destroy mankind and use the world as a springboard to challenge heaven. This existence calls himself the Messiah. He showed extraordinary power in front of the world, claiming that he is the son of the Creator and has received an oracle. And from his birth, the foreshadowing of the split of the Messianic sect was laid. He traveled around to spread his faith, but the doctrines he preached were different from the holy scriptures that had been passed down by the Messianic sect. Therefore, he was suppressed by the Messianic sect and eventually nailed to the cross. When he was alive, the Messianic sect had not yet split, but some monks were influenced by his doctrines and developed new ideas. After he died, his disciples preached in his name. Later, the Messianic sect split because of different ideas. Zhang Yi said, "So, the two sects of the Junjing Church and the Tong organization were born?" King Arthur shook his head. "No, religious matters are not that simple. In fact, both the Messianic sect and the Junjing sect hold the same beliefs, but have different doctrines. In history, religion has been linked to the political power of ancient kingdoms. Kings use divine authority to gain the legitimacy of their rule, and religions use the territorial expansion of the kingdom to gain more believers. The Junjing sect is actually a branch of the religion created by the disciples of the Messiah. It is also the most powerful branch so far. The Messianic sect split because of internal discord. In the end, several bishops left with their disciples and disappeared from the face of the world. They are the founders of the Tong organization. When Zhang Yi heard this, he felt a little confused. Since you're going to create a new sect, why hide in the dark? Instead of spreading the doctrine widely, there is no religion in this world that does not want as many disciples as possible. King Arthur explained, "This is related to their different interpretations of the doctrine." King Arthur looked at Zhang Yi. "I think that someone as smart as you must have thought that the end of the world today must be related to the ancients. Then, the mythological stories handed down from ancient times contain important information. So, you must have studied the holy book of the Junjing Church? Most of the doctrines in it are the same as the doctrines circulated by the Tong organization. We all know that the end of the world will come at this time. In fact, it's not just us. From ancient times to the present, there have always been some extraordinary humans who have awakened powerful predictive abilities. Even the Buddha of Buddhism predicted today's Dharma ending age before his death." He shook his head. "It's a pity that the Buddha once said that today, his robe and bowl will be lost. The demons will put on monks' robes and do evil in the name of Buddhism. So the Buddha sect is now completely destroyed." Zhang Yi touched his nose in disappointment. Before the end of the world, there were many Buddhist temples in Huashu Kingdom and Southeast Asia. But the monks in it all drive luxury cars, use iPhones, are fat, and have lots of wives and children. Belief? It has been lost long ago. It is no wonder that such a huge religion disappeared after the end of the world. King Arthur continued, "The disagreement between the Junjing Church and the Tong organization lies in their attitude towards the end of the world. The Junjing Church has always preached that the end of the world will eventually come. Only those who devoutly believe in the Creator will enter heaven, and those who do not believe in God will fall into hell." Chaos. Do you know what heaven is? King Arthur looked at Zhang Yi and said dimly. Zhang Yi remained silent. He didn't have to guess, he knew what it was. To go to heaven is to return to the ether. That is, the death of individual existence. So, what the Junjing Church ultimately wants is for humans to comply with the will of the Creator and for their true spirits to return to the ether after completing their mission of observing the world. King Arthur gave his answer. Heaven is an empty world where people are integrated into one without distinction between you and me. He suddenly said with a smile, "Have you ever seen an animation called EVA?" Zhang Yi nodded. "Yes." King Arthur said, "So going to heaven is probably the same as the concept in the animation where everyone turns into orange juice. being integrated into one. Without the existence of individuals, people can naturally understand each other, and there will be no disputes. But King Arthur's tone became serious. We don't want to see such an ending. We don't want to let ourselves be erased. Zhang Yi said, so, the predecessors of the Tong organization would leave the sect and choose to take a different path. King Arthur nodded with relief. Han Dun, you are really smart. You can understand this kind of thing as soon as you think about it. Zhang Yi thought to himself, I am not only smart, I also understand more than you. The ultimate goal of the Junjing sect is a grand sacrifice. And the members of the church who helped the creator achieve the goal of returning to the ether believe that they will receive gifts after their return. Zhang Yi was curious. Gifts? It has all turned into orange juice. What other gifts are there? King Arthur shook his head. We don't know about this either. After all, it has been more than 2,000 years since the separation, and I only know a rough idea. After listening to this, Zhang Yi felt that those guys in the Junjing church should not be that stupid. Do you really have to sacrifice yourself to return to ether? No, it's definitely not like that. Perhaps some people's faith is strong enough that they are truly not afraid of death. But it is impossible that all people are crazy. He raised his eyelids and looked at King Arthur. Then, what about the Tong organization? Are you different? King Arthur nodded. Of course we are different. Because we choose to fight. He pointed to the sky. Fight against God. Refuse to go to heaven. Zhang Yi laughed. If you refuse to go to heaven, then you can only choose to go to hell. King Arthur spread his hands indifferently. Go to hell? How can I go to hell? Isn't this world hell? Zhang Yi was stunned. For a moment, he had no way to refute King Arthur's words. After the sect split, our sage Lucifer returned to society with his disciples. The Tong organization chose a different path. We cannot stop God from destroying the world, but we can preserve the spark of hope and allow the human race to continue. So the Tong organization has been continuously absorbing elites from all walks of life in society for more than 2,000 years. Zhang Yi thought of a legend. Noah's Ark? Are you planning to wait until the end of the world and let these outstanding people escape the catastrophe on the Ark? Isn't this the plan of prehistoric civilizations to escape underground and preserve the fire? Sure enough, all history is modern history. All civilized races ultimately chose the same way to save their lives. Zhang Yi finally figured out the origin of the feud between the two sects. Over a period of 2,000 years, they must have had many frictions due to their different beliefs. By now, I'm afraid it's a fight to the death. It is no wonder that in the New Testament of the Orthodox Church, Lucifer is defined as a demon who rebelled against God and hid in hell. No wonder the Tong organization believes in Satan. Heaven and earth are not benevolent and treat all things as straw dogs. The Creator wiped humans off the face of the planet without any emotion, just like humans erasing dissatisfied paintings on a blackboard. But some people don't want to be wiped out, they want to survive. Zhang Yi listened silently. He was not very interested in religious matters. Maybe it was all because of faith at the beginning, but when religion developed, all problems were caused by people. King Arthur said to Zhang Yi very calmly, "The end of the world is coming. Human beings are so insignificant in the face of the will of the Creator. Chaos, haven't you felt this as well? I once entered the deep sea 10,000 meters below. It was once believed to be a dead end for life, and no living creature could survive there. But there, I discovered the prehistoric human civilization Atlantis. Even if they escape to the 10,000 meters deep sea, they still face the crisis of destruction. Don't the underground civilizations as strong as the ones we encountered have to struggle to survive in the face of the will of the Creator? What about the great God-level civilization we encountered in Chernobyl? All human weapons are worse than toys in front of them. But don't they have to hide their whereabouts?" King Arthur sighed deeply. "You can't be a lone hero. If humans want to survive, they must unite. That's why I chose to join the Tong organization." He looked at Zhang Yi with sincere eyes. He really hoped that a smart and powerful alien like Zhang Yi would join the Tong organization and become his partner. The Junjing Church wants to sacrifice all living beings to realize their crazy wish. But everyone in the Tong organization is very realistic. The only belief of the Tong organization is to survive. No one forces you to believe in any dogma, and no one will force you to do something you don't want to do. We are just a group of people who saw the end of the world earlier than others and want to survive. As long as you are willing to join the Tong organization, you will directly become a level 32 member under the king, and become one of the noble Four Horsemen of the Dawn. Zhang Yi lowered his eyes. The amount of information was a bit too much, and he needed to absorb it carefully. Wait a minute, what are these Four Horsemen of the Dawn you mentioned? King Arthur explained, according to the earliest version of the Messianic Bible, when the end of the world comes, the gate of the sky will open and 4 knights will appear. The monarchy later compiled the New Testament and called them the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, or the Four Horsemen of the End of the World, or the Apocalypse. They claim that the arrival of these 4 horsemen symbolizes plague, war, famine, and death. They will completely destroy the world. But we have a completely new interpretation of these 4 horsemen. In the supplementary edition of the Holy Scripture of the Tong organization, they are called the 4 Knights of the Dawn. The 4 Knights represent spirit, morality, benevolence, and vanity. King Arthur spread his hands and said, in short, no matter which sect, the 4 Knights represent force. They are important roles for the sect to achieve its goals in the end times. Zhang Yi smiled and said, then they are the lackeys? King Arthur smiled and shook his head. If you say so, then so. Zhang Yi looked at King Arthur curiously. With your strength, you must be one of the 4 knights. King Arthur did not hide it. Since he decided to invite Zhang Yi to join, he had to be honest. Among the 4 Knights of the Dawn, I am the one who represents the spirit. Zhang Yi held up his chin and said, you invited me to join, which means that the vacancies for the 4 Knights of the Dawn have not been filled yet. So, are the other 2 vacancies filled? King Arthur said seriously, I can't tell you these secrets before you join the Tong organization. Because, the Tong organization is a mysterious organization. Once the identities of important members are exposed, they may be hunted down by the Junjing Church. Zhang Yi nodded. Okay, I've finished listening to the story. What you said is very interesting, but I must go back and think about this matter carefully. If it were a Huaxi person, he would understand that this was a rejection. But Zhang Yi did not say everything, which made King Arthur think there was still a chance. Otherwise, Chinese is not easy to understand. You have to analyze it in context. King Arthur nodded. I understand, this kind of thing does need to be seriously considered. But I believe that you will not choose the Junjing Church, but will choose to join us. Because you can't be a running dog of the church, you yearn for freedom. Zhang Yi finally understood why King Arthur asked him such a question when they first met. Instead of explaining, he took the opportunity to ask a question that he was very curious about. I have a question for you. Elon Freeman, are you a member of the Hitomi organization? Elon Freeman was the most famous CEO of a technology company in the world 20 to 30 years ago. His company has always been at the forefront of the world in the field of space colonization. In the 1930s of the 21st century, after more than 10 years of preparation, his company launched a spacecraft named Hope, carrying 100 outstanding talents from all walks of life, and flew to Mars. But for quite a long time, Freeman and subsequent news about the Hope gradually disappeared from the internet. Some people believe that their mission failed, and they all died on Mars. Some even believe that their spacecraft crashed when they landed on Mars. Zhang Yi also had a space plan, wanting to escape from this dangerous planet. So, he asked Yang Xinxin to investigate Elon Freeman's information and the subsequent situation of the Hope. But he didn't find any traces until he asked Brian, who told him that it was Columbia's top secret. So Zhang Yi suspected that Elon Freeman and his team had successfully established a colony base on Mars. The reason why Columbia's top leaders have been blocking the information is because they want to keep this backdoor for themselves and do not want ordinary people to know about it. When King Arthur heard the name Elon Freeman, his face changed slightly, and Zhang Yi knew that he must know something. You guessed right, He is indeed a member of the Hibiki organization. King Arthur nodded, but then said, "But he has lost contact with the Hibiki organization for a long time. We only know that he did successfully land on Mars and established a Mars base there. As for what happened to them afterwards, we can't get that level of intelligence. That is Columbia's highest level of secret." Zhang Yi felt a little regretful, but the more he thought that there was a huge secret hidden behind Elon Freeman's landing on Mars. Perhaps he used the energy of the Hitomi organization and successfully landed on Mars, but chose to cut off contact in order to avoid being controlled by them. "Don't you have anyone in the upper echelons of Columbia?" Zhang Yi asked. King Arthur nodded. "Of course. But what does this have to do with your question?" His expression was matter-of-fact. The Tong organization is just a loose alliance, and the members gather for a common purpose. But except for the president who has the power to issue special orders, other members have no right to order other members to do things, even if there are differences in rank between them. Even the president cannot give orders to members outside the Tong organization's concept of free survival. For example, I am a senior official of Britannia and a member of the Tong organization. I will not sell out the secrets of Britannia to the Tong organization. The same goes for you. Joining the Tong organization does not require you to sell out the interests of your own country. Zhang Yi suddenly understood why this organization had been able to survive for more than 2,000 years under the oppression of the Junjing Church. Precisely because it is too loose and decentralized, the royal church has no way to destroy it. At this time, King Arthur suddenly said something. "However, speaking of Elon Freeman and his Mars colony, I did find some suspicious points." Zhang, what suspicious points? In about a year, Columbia's global activities have decreased a lot. Didn't you notice that such a big thing happened in Fremons, and the highest combat force they sent was just a dog?